This is video tutorial 7. In here, we will be discussing the graphs. So here we are asked to sketch the graph of y equals to 1 plus cosecant of half x for this interval. So we have to remember, again, two things here. One, how we transform graphs, how we transform functions. And second, we have to remember the graph of y equals to cosecant x. So this is from a page in the book. So here it shows us the graph of y equals to cosecant theta. So instead of theta, we are using the variable x, and the values are plotted on the horizontal axis. Okay. So this is how it looks. But for this particular problem that we are solving, we are using radian for the x-axis. So let's sketch it here. We sketch first the graph of cosecant x. Not this one yet. This one first. So let's just copy the graph here that we have. So notice these broken lines. These are your asymptotes. What are asymptotes again? These are the lines that the graph will not intersect. The y-axis is also an asymptote. So we have y. This is the x-axis. So instead of 91, 82, 70, and 360, we'll write this in terms of radian. So that will be, for 90, pi over 2. For 180 is pi. For 270 is 3 pi over 2. And for 360 is 2 pi. Please use ruler. I cannot at the moment because I'm holding the phone. My other hand. So this is 0. And the values on the y-axis are the critical values, negative 1, 0, and 1. So let's put that here. I'll extend this and this. So here, let's put the negative 1 here, the positive 1, and the negative 1 here. Okay, so we have asymptotes at pi and at 2 pi. Again, this is the graph of cosecant x. There's a turning point. The lowest here is at pi over 2, 1. So it gets closer to y but will never touch the y-axis. And this side gets closer to pi but will never touch the pi, the x equals to pi line. Here, at negative 1, that's the turning point. And it's decreasing here. It's going down here, not touching the pi, the x equals to pi. And on this side, not touching the x equals to 2 pi because those are asymptotes. Okay. So why do we need to consider this graph? Because this graph right here will just be a transformation of this. So how do we get the transformations again? We compare the equations. So we notice here, we have 1 plus cosecant half x. So there are two transformations that are shown here. The x became half x. So that means stretch by a stretch factor of 2. The value of x became half x. So the values of x will be multiplied by 2 because it's a stretch with a stretch factor of 2. This is half. And also, we have a plus 1. 1 is affecting the value of y, not the value of x. And that means it's a translation by the vector 0, 1. So how do we put in those transformations to get the graph of these. So instead of seeing these values for x, these values of x will now be multiplied by 2 because it's a stretch with a stretch factor of 2 for the values of x. So now I'll have here pi over 2 times 2 will give me pi. I will just overlay it with the pen. So this will be the pi. Pi here again multiplied by 2. So this will be a 2 pi. And then the 3 pi over 2 will be 3 pi. And now the 2 pi also multiplied by 2. So will be 4 pi. Let me erase the ones in pencil. So now these are the values on the x-axis. Okay, from the original. And also, the values of y will change because of the plus 1. So, we will add 1 to the values of x. So, our values of x are -1, 0, and 1. So, we don't have any point here on y equals to 0. We don't have any point. But we have points on 1 and -1. So, this will become 2 because it's plus 1. And this will become negative. No. If we add 1 to -1, it will become 0. So, this point right here will go up. Will go up to 0. Okay. Everything, these two graphs will move up by 1 unit. Now, if we look here, we only need to sketch the graph for this interval. 0 to 2 pi only. So, we don't need to show this part. So, we will just be showing this part. So, we will only be sketching this curve right here. So, now the sketch of, this is my rough work. So, now I'm going to write down the meter and the final answer. So, cosecant half x now. The sketch will be, okay, so y-axis. This is the x-axis. 0 to 2 pi. 0, pi, and 2 pi. And 2 pi is an asymptote. There you go. So, this curve, the turning point will be at 2 on the, say 2 is here, y-axis. So, 2. And that is at pi 2. Pi 2. So, again, this side of the curve will get closer to the y-axis but not intersecting it. This side of the graph will get closer to x equals to 2 pi but not intersecting it. So, this is the sketch for the graph of y equals to 1 plus cosecant half x.